Line podcast, where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I am your host, Chance Pitts, and I would like to thank you for tuning into this episode. Guys and gals, welcome back to another Thoughtful Thursday on the Next in Line podcast. And for those of you that might be new, firstly, welcome. It's awesome to have you here listening to the show. But secondly, we do have a little bit of a requirement. If you receive value from this episode or any other episode of the podcast, I would ask that you share the show with like-minded people who might be able to receive the same kind of value. That's the number one way for us to grow and move in the right direction, which is helping more people by reaching more people with the message we are putting out. Additionally, guys, you can help us out by interacting with us on whatever platform you find yourself listening on, or leaving us a rating or review or subscribing. Our two most popular platforms right now are Spotify and YouTube. If you're on Spotify, you can go to the homepage for the podcast, scroll up to the top of it, and you'll see a place to leave a star rating 1 through 5. Let us know how we're doing. On YouTube, comment, interact with us. Let us know what you think of the show if you're listening on YouTube. And guys, we just love to be involved with y'all and to hear from y'all. Now, with that, you're also going to help us pop up in the search bar a little bit earlier when people look for personal development or self-help type podcasts, and that's going to help us grow as well. You can also interact with us, like I've mentioned, on social media. That's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, whatever, kick them our way, and we'll be glad to talk to you about them there. Now, guys, getting into the topic for this Thoughtful Thursday. I was scrolling through my watch after a workout the other day. I've got a Garmin Fenix Pro Solar 6, I think, and it's an awesome watch. And one thing it does is it tracks my PRs. Now, if you don't know what a PR is, guys, if you haven't paid attention to the Olympics or any kind of physical exercise that involves routinely pushing yourself and measuring that against how you are doing and how you're progressing, a PR is a personal record. We often hear them in the fitness industry associated with bench press, squat, all the lifting exercises, as far as moving in a positive direction, trying to reach a new PR with the amount of weight that you can move. We also hear people talk about, I just improved on my 5K or my 10K PR. I ran the fastest one that I've been able to run so far. And that's a very, very good example of those two things. But it also rears its head up in other places in our life as well. We can PR in our finances. This is the most money I've been able to save and put back at a time. This is the most money I've ever made in my career. We can also do it with our reading. This is the most pages I've ever been able to make myself sit down and read in a book because I'm not a reader. That kind of thing as well. You can get creative and you can get lost in this and continue for forever. What I'm trying to say with that is the example is applicable across the map. Now, for this specific example, I'm going to keep my time and energy focused on the workout industry because it's something that is very prevalent to me right now, and I think a lot of the people that are working along with and communicating with Next in Line that I hear from who are pushing themselves physically. Shout out to everyone who's reached out. It's awesome to hear from y'all, and I will keep encouraging y'all along the way. But guys, with PRs, it's very important to realize something. A PR is kind of a special occasion kind of thing. A PR is not something you're going to hit every single day. The main reason being it is not sustainable to do so. Now, I've got a little story for you here, guys. I did 75 hard the first time, and I actually just came up on the 1-year anniversary of me finishing that successfully. It was awesome to see. It brought back a ton of good memories, but one of the memories that it brought back was a lesson that I learned on this topic of PRs. About halfway through my journey through 75 hard the first time, I found myself extremely motivated in the fitness realm. Now that's with running, that's with weightlifting and everything. I became very competitive within myself because my watch kept track of everything for me. It kept track of my records, how well I was doing with everything, and I learned that I could push myself every single time I went out and try to set a new PR, try to reach a new height, to break the plateau so I didn't find myself being complacent or having to wait for results. I could get that instant gratification by becoming better every single day. And that applied specifically to my runs. I would go out for a 45-minute run in the morning or in the evening, and I would push myself as hard as possible to try to see how fast I could run. And if I could run faster, that means I could run farther. So the metric I was using was the miles that I covered. And I eventually got to the point of being able to run, I think, around 6 miles in that 45-minute time, maybe a little bit more. But whatever it was, I also quickly found out that if I try to push myself in PR and just sprint the whole thing, I will injure myself. I eventually had to switch to bike riding instead of running, or cycling instead of running, because I tore up my IT band. I irritated my knee. I irritated my Achilles. Those were all issues I started to face because I was pushing myself to extremes every single day and not giving myself an active period of recovery, which I found out was just as important. So guys, that's my little story on the PR and how it should relate to this process. You can't actively expect yourself to PR every single day. There's going to be ups and downs, just like if you're looking at the charts on a stock market, if you're looking at sound waves, there's ups and downs as you progress, guys. There might be positive correlation headed in the right direction, and you're not going to see progress every single day, especially looking in the mirror or looking at the scale or whatever it is, guys, because it's not sustainable. Your body's got to adjust. Your progress has to adjust so it can set itself up and build a foundation for success to head in the right direction. That's something I had to find out very, very hard and learn a hard lesson from at several points in my life, not just with this fitness, but guys, it is a lesson I continue to learn as I run. The other day I set out to do 17 miles and push myself and had to force myself the next day to slow down. I had to do a slow recovery run and an easy run, even though I wanted to go out and try to push further than that and progress even further, because I know that if I tried to push further while I would reach a little bit further distance on the next run, I would set myself back in my training regimen pretty far through injury and recovery times having to increase and all that good stuff. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat, guys. It is very important to understand that what I'm saying to y'all is not to go out and give less than 100%. That's not what we're trying to do here at all, guys. No matter what you're doing in your development space, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, spiritual, whatever you're doing, don't go out and give anything less than 100%. I think I've said this quote before, but Ron Swanson says, don't ever do 2 things half-ass, do 1 thing whole-ass. You got to focus on your goal. If you're having an active recovery rest day at a slow pace, like a walk or something like that, give that your full attention. Make sure you're doing everything you can. You're staying hydrated. You're intentional with your workouts. You're keeping them within the certain parameters so that you can actively recover. If it is a true rest day and you're not working out at all, make sure that you're eating enough. Make sure that you're staying hydrated enough and you're getting enough sleep, because that's going to maximize your potential. That's another way to reach that 100% effectiveness and 100% effort, by making yourself be intentional and focus on what you're doing at the time. Because guys, we can't just show up every day and perform at our very best without giving ourselves a chance to recover. That is just human nature. That is the nature of this entire process that we find ourselves in with personal development. It's not something that is sustainable in any way at all to go out and expect to have the absolute best performance every single time. We see it from a million different people. As far as the Olympics go, we see guys that show up and struggle. We see people that show up and do their best, but they've set themselves up for success. They've taken rest days. They've worked very hard within a set schedule. They've had good days. They've had bad days, easy days, and hard days to get to the point they are at right now, guys. And it's also one of those things that I will say around this, that yes, give full effort to whatever you're doing, because there's a big part of this that we cannot afford to miss. And that is that if you are capable of setting a PR every single day that you show up to the gym, to work, to your finances, whatever it is, if you're capable of setting a PR every single time you show up, there's probably something lacking within that. And what I mean is that if I go out and I set the bar really low by running a 45-minute mile, and I increase every day. I run a 44 the next day. I run a 43 after that, and so on and so forth. I'm not pushing myself to get better because I know I am truly capable of more than that. Same thing if I go to the gym, guys. If I go and I bench 95 pounds one day, and then I bump it up to 100 the next day and keep on stacking on 5 pounds every day, one, I'm not pushing myself in those early days, so I'm not getting near enough out of it like I could be in that situation. And then two, it's going to come to a point to when I find a spot where I burn out and I don't hit that next 5 pounds. I don't hit that next goal because it's not sustainable. It's not a proper up and down training cycle that slowly progresses and allows me to recover and to build a foundation, like we talked about, of success. So guys, that is the message I want to leave y'all with today. Don't strive every single day for a PR, but try to be the best at whatever is on the schedule. If it's recovery, be the best at recovery. If it's actively pushing at a tempo run, go be the best at that tempo run. But if it's time to go set a PR, set the stage, rest, recover, fuel, hydrate, whatever you got to do, and go up and kick it square in the ass. Guys, thanks y'all so much for tuning into this episode of the Next in Line podcast. Like I said, please check us out on social media at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Share the show with like-minded individuals, and always be prepared for whatever is next in line.